Interest payments were going up, creditors were calling. I finally realized I needed help. The people at Janes & Noseworthy really took care of me, and I'm glad I chose a local solution. I felt like they understood me better. Getting help with my debt has given me the energy, the headspace, and the time to make my dreams come true. A chance to start again with knowledge, support, and people in your corner. Are you looking for that kind of help? It's okay.
Learn more about Leah's story at janesnoseworthy.ca.
If you only knew what I'm going through, I just can't smile without you.
Good evening, everybody. It's your boy DC from Out of the Fog, and I'm hanging out here with the stage in the back because I want to throw it back to the vault. We have 20 seasons of incredible episodes of Out of the Fog, documenting the best in not-for-profit, in business, and in arts. And tonight we're going to watch an episode that commemorates a very important day. This is Out of the Fog, and we hope you enjoy the show.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Out of the Fog. Well, tonight we remember. We remember and honor the brave people of this province and throughout Canada who served and gave their lives for the freedoms that we have today. Now, tonight I'm going to sit down with historian and author Frank Gogos to talk about his latest book. It's called The Royal Newfoundland Regiment in the Great War. Now, if you're a history buff, make sure you stay tuned to hear about this book, as it's a guide to the battlefields and memorials of France, Belgium, and Gallipoli. And we also have some copies to give away to a few lucky viewers as well. Now I'm going to also introduce you to a couple of members of the CLB who are embarking on a once-in-a-lifetime trip coming this June. They're going to France for the 100th anniversary of Beaumont Hamel. Now we're going to find out how they received this invitation from the site manager and the CLB's role in the First World War. Plus, we're going to bring you a beautiful and very touching video. It's called I Will Sing You Home, an initiative of the Rooms in partnership with the Ennis Sisters, the Shalloway Youth Choir, and the CBC. We're going to take a very short break, but we'll be right back as we continue to remember. Stay with us.
Color party, by the left, quick, march!
Get your courtside seats at home with NBA League Pass on Super Sports Pack. With up to 40 out-of-market NBA games a week, you'll always catch your favorite team no matter where you live. Whether it's big matchups you're looking for or following your top fantasy picks, it's all here. NBA League Pass, part of the Rogers Super Sports Pack. All this for only $35.95 a month. Order through your remote on Channel 450 or call 1-888-ROGERS-1 today.
Color party, by the left, quick, march!
Welcome back to Out of the Fog. Well, the 1st Newfoundland Regiment evolved into one of the toughest and most respected fighting units in the First World War. It was a great loss, which was suffered as the Royal Newfoundland Regiment left many of its soldiers behind on the battlefields of France, Belgium, and Gallipoli. Now, tonight we're going to talk about a book that contains more than 400 photographs and 40 maps. It's a really great resource as it contains so much history. And joining me now to tell us more is the author, Frank Gogos. Frank, welcome to Out of the Fog.
Thank you.
Well, it's great to have you here. So before we get into the book, just tell me, what does Remembrance Day mean to you?
For me, it's a time of reflection and going out and paying my respects to the soldiers and sailors and men and women who served their countries, and not just the ones who died, but the ones who also came back, and say thank you for your service.
And that's exactly what we want to do today is, of course, remember all of those people. Tell me a little bit about this book, because there's so much information here. Why did you want to essentially, I guess, retrace the steps of the soldiers?
Well, it was a personal journey for me. It started out as a personal journey to learn about my grandfather's service in the Great War. He was one of those soldiers. We all hear about Beaumont Hamel. And when I started looking at his war service, I realized he wasn't a part of that battle. So I wanted to understand why. So I dug deeper, and as I dug deeper, I got more involved in the history of the Royal Newfoundland Regiment and began going overseas and being a part of projects as well. I worked with Morgan MacDonald to replicate Newfoundland's Memorial to the Missing back in 2009. And this kind of naturally evolved from my own research. And I started getting a lot of questions a couple of years ago. You know, where to go, what to see, where's a good place to get a hotel, that sort of thing. Now, that kind of information I don't put in there, but because we have the internet today, and anybody can do that. But I wanted to write the history as well, to give people I wouldn't say a brief synopsis, but a retelling of the events that are, in context of places that they can visit. So
well, even skimming through it, it gives you a good idea without even, traveling over there.
Yeah.
Of course.
Well, that was my second objective, was
right.
to, if you could not afford to go, that this book would help give you some visual cues in which to help you understand the story, and the battlefields that are over there and how important they are to Newfoundlanders.
Was there anything that throughout, obviously, the years of research that it takes just to compile all of this information, was there anything that really stood out to you that you didn't know of before, or?
It's still an ongoing journey. It doesn't stop. So there's always things that come up. You get excited when a new piece of information comes up, and you go and you try to fit that into what you understand now, because we don't have a lot of first-hand accounts from the 1st Royal Newfoundland Regiment, and we do have a few, but not as many as we would like. And a lot of the guys never really talked about their experiences to their families when they did come home. They talked to their comrades, in places like the Legion or the Great War Veterans Associations and those sort of things, but they didn't really talk to their families because their families wouldn't understand what they had seen and what they were a part of. And, I guess this is in a way, for me personally, trying to answer some of those questions on my own grandfather's experience, and hopefully encourage people to look into their own families and get that same kind of feeling. And, and in a way, it's an act of remembrance in itself.
For those people who haven't been there, I haven't been over to see any of the battlegrounds. What is it like being there? I mean, we see the pictures, but there's clearly such a difference when you put your own 2 feet on that soil. I mean, what did that feel like?
My first time, I didn't expect what happened to me personally when I came to Beaumont Hamel. I brought my family. We're going to visit my family in Europe, and on the way I made sure we stopped at Beaumont Hamel on July 1st, and we spent a day there practically. And I came away from that somehow changed. I didn't know what it was, but that really spurred me on to dig deeper about, into the entire story of the regiment, and that happened in 2005. And it's been an ongoing journey since.
Right, so you still can't put words to that moment.
Because if you don't experience it, it's hard to explain to somebody who hasn't experienced it. And I talk to a lot of people who go there for the first time, and they have similar experiences. Whether it's the way the wind blows or the rain or something. There's some kind of experience that most people go through. Not everyone.
But there's a different feeling that you get inside.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that strikes you when you go into Beaumont Hamel, you realize that this park, which is a beautiful park, it's not in its original form what it was intended to be. It was meant to shock you the original design of the park. Today it's a lot like Bowring Park, except you have shell craters and trenches running through the park, so it's a little bit different, but it's very serene, and it does affect people who do visit it. It's, in my mind, and I might be a little biased, it is one of probably the most poignant memorial parks in France or Belgium. You know, and I'm sure people would argue with others, but I think it does have an impact.
Well, Frank, if anybody would like to go on a journey themselves with your book, of course, The Royal Newfoundland Regiment in the Great War, how can they get their hands on this?
It's available. It's widely available in your local Coles and Chapters. The publisher has done a great job in getting it out to just about every nook and cranny in Newfoundland, so it's not hard to find. And
okay. I want to thank you very much for joining us and shedding some light on, of course, all that took place, and hopefully people will get the chance to go through it with their own two steps through this. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay. We also want to tell you that we have some copies to give away tonight as well. So for a few lucky winners here this evening, if you'd like to get your name in for a chance to win, of course, you can call us at 757-9600. You can email outofthefog@rci.rogers.com. We're also on Twitter and Facebook, so many ways to get your entry in for a chance to win a very copy of your own. We're going to take a very short break, but we'll be right back. Stay with us.
It all started when I racked up some serious debt. Interest payments were going up, creditors were calling. Janes and Noseworthy came up with a plan. Knowing that the phone was going to stop ringing and that I was not in this alone was a huge relief. Bankruptcy or a consumer proposal or whatever help you get is not the end. It's just the beginning. A chance to start again with knowledge and support and people in your corner. Are you ready? Get out of debt. It's okay.
Learn more about Leah's story at janesnoseworthy.ca.
Welcome back to the show. Well, in June of next year, 13 CLB youth members will be embarking on a life-changing trip to France for the 100th anniversary of Beaumont Hamel. And joining me now to talk about the trip and the brave and courageous soldiers in which they've researched our youth members, we have Corporal Mary Pike and Corporal Alexander Brown, as well as Warrant Officer 1 Ian Wheeler, and of course Ruby, our interpreter, joining us. Welcome to Out of the Fog.
Thanks very much for having us.
Well, it's great to have all of you here. So Ian, I want to start with you. I know the CLB obviously has a vast history. Just tell us, I guess, the connection in terms of the war.
Well, the CLB is probably one of the oldest youth organizations in Canada. It was formed very soon after the formation of the CLB in the UK in 1892. At the outbreak of the war in 1914, there were no standing military forces in the colony, with the exception of the Royal Newfoundland Naval Reserve. So when the call went out, the governor of the day committed to raise a formation of troops and 500 men to go over and join the King's Army and support the cause. Because the CLB and the other city brigades of the day, Catholic Cadet Corps, Methodist Guards, Presbyterian Highlanders, because they were used to military drilling, riflery, musketry, formations, soldier-type activities, they were the logical people to be recruited into the fledgling Newfoundland Regiment. And the CLB commanding officer of the day offered up the armory on the original site as it is today to become the regimental headquarters. And all the recruiting activities took place out of the armory, along with all the administration of the regiment.
Okay, so there's a big trip obviously coming up to go to France in June. Just tell us briefly, how exactly did this all come about, this idea?
Well, it's interesting because the CLB as an organization, even though it has very strong historical ties to Beaumont Hamel and the regiment in particular, as a unit they've never been on the fields of France. So we felt, at some point in time, we need to go there We were invited by the site manager a couple of years ago, Ms. Arlene King, to participate in the centennial commemorations, and of course that put the wheels in motion to get the tour up and running.
Okay, well, of course we want to bring Alexander and Mary into the conversation as well. Alexander, tell me, what does Remembrance Day mean to you?
A day to honor and respect the people who fought in the war, and they will help our free country. All three men and women who are our hero.
Alex, you're embarking on an amazing experience come this June. What exactly are you hoping to really, I guess, get out of this trip to France and Beaumont Hamel?
Well, I hope to be able to, with my experience, to travel to France is to be able to see where history has taken place. And when I think about the past, the soldiers, what they experienced there 100 years ago. As well, I want to be able to appreciate all these young men who showed their bravery in being able to go to war.
All right. And Mary, of course, what exactly does Remembrance Day mean to you? Why is it so important, do you think, that we mark this year after year?
Remembrance Day is very, very important to me because it's not only remembering the war that took place, it's remembering the individual soldiers and appreciating the experience that they went through and everything that they sacrificed to take part in.
And when you talk about obviously everything that they sacrificed and what these soldiers went through, I know that there was a soldier in particular that you were all doing some research on before you go over to go over to this trip. Sorry, if you can tell us a little bit about this person.
I did Captain Charles St. Clair Strong. He was a really extraordinary man. He was 24 when he enlisted, and he was the 30th member to enlist, so he really jumped at the opportunity to embark in the adventure that he thought he was going to be home by Christmas for. He ranked up fairly quickly. He went from a sergeant when he left to a captain in 4 years, which is significant. He fought in many battles and ended up dying 7 months before the war ended in April.
All right. Well, thank you very much for sharing that with us. Ian, I know that there's obviously this is a huge undertaking. It's going to cost about $300,000 for I guess the whole group to really go to France. You're doing some fundraising to try to raise money, of course. Tell us a little bit about what you're going to be doing.
Well, we've been actively fundraising now for probably the last 9 months or so. Some of the smaller fundraisers the youth have been engaged in, everybody's been encouraged to sort of take on their own smaller projects. Every little bit helps. But some of the major ones, we've had fundraising events, Oktoberfest, historical dinners. We've got our Valentine's Cabaret coming up in February. We've been selling commemorative buttons, patches. We've got a beautiful set of replica hat badges of the 4 original city brigades that are done in pewter, limited edition to 540. That are dedicated one set each to a member of the first 540 that sailed on the Florizel. So if we can realize all those things, we're also reaching out to the corporate community and former members of the CLB, anybody who's willing to help us out. It's a massive undertaking.
Okay, well, that is all the time we have for tonight. I want to thank you all very much for joining me, and all the best on your trip to France. And before we go, Ian, just give us the details. How can people get in touch if they would like to make a donation or purchase something?
Well, they can contact the CLB Armory online or via telephone or email. They can also go to a GoFundMe site that we have set up. It's GoFundMe/CLB Regimental Band, and they can get us that way. And or if they know anybody or approach one of the members at any time at one of our performances, we'll be happy to link them up.
Okay, well, thank you very much, and thanks again for joining us.
Our pleasure. Thanks for having us.
Okay, we're going to take a very short break. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
If you have a comment about this program, we'd love to hear it. Email or call us, or send us your feedback through social media.
And now we move on to another production. It's called I Will Sing You Home, an initiative of the Rooms in partnership with the Ennis Sisters, Shalloway Youth Choir, and the CBC. Now, this video is part of the Rooms' newly launched Remember Them campaign. It tells a story which many families in our province can relate to, the loss of losing a loved one to war. Here's I Will Sing You Home.
Too soon to leave this earth. How could all your work be done? Ash to ash and dust to dust. Seemed to me you'd just begun. When grief invades my soul, there's comfort in a prayer I find. Though these candles honor you, they burn for those you left behind. I'll sing for you because I need to. Right now this is all I know. I'll sing so we will not forget you. I will sing you home. I will sing you home. Know that you will live on the lips of those who what it was you had to give, what it was we learned from you. This is our prayer for you, and maybe someday we will know. Kör vårt sacrifice, servus I'll sing for you because I need to. Right now this is all I know. I'll sing so we will not forget you. I will sing you home. I will sing you home. Ash to ash and dust to dust. There is nothing left undone. I'll sing for you because I need to. Right now this is all I know. I'll sing so we will not forget you. I will sing you home. I will sing you home. I'll sing for you because I need to. Right now this is all I know. I'll sing so we will not forget you. I will sing you
come back. You come back by Christmas.
I will, I promise.
Well, everybody, that was our Remembrance Day episode from the vault, where so many incredible episodes of Out of the Fog exist. Stay tuned for more. And until next time, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. And please remember.
Singer-songwriter Terry Kelly and friends salute the men and women of our military, past and present, this Remembrance Day, asking you to take a pittance of time to remember.
They fought and some died for their homeland. They fought and some died, now it's our land.
This Remembrance Day, as we acknowledge the courage and sacrifice of our men and women in uniform, let's also grant them a moment of quiet reflection, a pittance of time.
Take a pittance of time.
This is the day to stop what you're doing in your really busy tempo life and just remember them.
We need to work this as a catalyst to have people constantly remembering the sacrifices that people have made and continue to make for our freedom, for our way of life. We get to live an incredible life.
You know, the essence and the message of gratitude that comes from Remembrance Day can be lived in the heart of every child, every adult, for the whole year.
Expressing that gratitude for the whole year could also extend to others.
There's a lot of sacrifice for this. And it's not just the military, it can be the firefighters, the police officers, the nurse in this COVID environment. So all those sacrifices, what we're pausing to remember on Remembrance Day. Yes, it's a little bit more focused on the military, but take the time and really think about all the sacrifices that were done by other people to allow you to have the life you're living right now. And yeah, thank them in your head. Just take that minute of silence and really thank all those people.
In peacetime our best still don battle dress and lay their lives on the line. It's a pittance of time. In peace may they rest, lest we forget why they died. Take a pittance of time.
If you can afford 2 minutes, make that a pittance of time. If it's only 90, 60, 30 seconds, that's cool.
I'm Dan Hennessy, Honorary Colonel with the RCAF, and I'm asking you to take a pittance of time to remember.
If you have a comment about this program, we'd love to hear it. Email or call us, or send us your feedback through